Nithin Ramachandra from the NR Hour Sports Show, back with another episode. Happy Friday! Today, we're heading into the playoff weekends again. But today we have a special episode for the fans and for everyone around the world. First, but I want to introduce our panel. My co-host Kia Lyons on the top left, and in the middle we have Italy Jet from Everything Jets podcast, and we got Jiggy Man Porto from KOD Media. Go check them out; they do a great job as always with their stuff and content. And today we have a special guest, the one and only LeVar Harrington. Everybody knows him. He's a former Penn State NFL linebacker. He played for the New York Giants and the Washington Redskins, which is now the Washington Commanders. What a great career, 3-time Pro Bowl, second team, 2-time second team, and man, what a great career in Penn State also. And now off the field, he's doing big things with 3 podcasts, 2 shows, and the one he's on right now is called Up on the Game. Go check that out with TJ and Plaxico Burress. They do a great job on that. But LeVar, thank you for joining us. It's truly an honor. And like I said, I can't wait for this interview. How are you and your family doing today?
Very well. I appreciate you guys having me in. Looking forward to hearing what you guys have to say and what the fans have to say as well. So appreciate you having me on. I know it's took a while.
Yeah.
You know, I got a lot going on, but happy to finally make it on.
Mm-hmm. LeVar, I'm so grateful because when you were scheduled, I wasn't able to make it. So I'm so grateful that you were able to schedule it for today because I'm here.
You see how fate works?
Yes, I appreciate it. It was 2 reschedules, and I was like, yeah. I get in on the action. I appreciate it. I love hearing stories, and your story, I want to hear it. I want to hear how you got into football, how you when you started, and how you were inspired. How did it change your whole growing up?
I'm from Pittsburgh, so to be from Pittsburgh is to be born into football culture. Obviously, Steel Town. We're known for our steel mills. We're known for Heinz and Heinz ketchup. We're known for Bridges and Three Rivers and football. And so football has been a part of my life ever since, well, I can remember. So it's just one of those things. And it's a style of football. When you're from Western Pennsylvania, it's like our economy. It's just based off a hard hat, lunch pail, you know, everyday common man, working people, and so that's what it was for me. Is my father's military, my father's father is military, my father's father's father is military, my mother's father was military. So not only did I have I guess the education of what football represented and our lives and our culture there, but I also understood military culture. And the one thing that I realized very quickly as I grew in age was there are a lot of commonalities and similarities that connect military and football. And so it's something that I've always been attracted to and always drawn to.
Me too. I love hearing that about players. I love the military background and like that high performance mindset. It's incredible. And I'm sure that you had it since you have 4 generations or more of military in your family. I'm sure you had that high performance like instilled in you at a young. When did you start playing?
But 8 years old, started at 8.
Wow.
So started at 8. And ironically enough, which now it's not proper to say, but the first team I played for was the Braves. The second team was the Redskins. Third team was the Chiefs. So I guess I could have ended up going to the Chiefs and said it was relevant, but I was an Indian my entire youth. And when I played youth ball, when I played high school ball, I played for the North Hills Indians. So starting early, and back then where I'm from, football was, like I said, it was such a culture. So the youth organization was connected to the high school. So we were like real life varsity blues. We were friends since kindergarten. We played ball ever since we were 6, 7, 8. tackled at 8. Then we played youth until we made it to middle school. You make it to middle school, and then they have the middle school teams there, and then you play in high school. So it was while I transferred, I did not go to school in the school district for about 4 or 5 years. I still played ball with them until I got too heavy to play youth anymore, and then reconnected with my classmates that I had went to school with early on in elementary school before I transferred out, and reconnected with them back in the 8th grade. And we won a state title my freshman year, and almost threw up 6 shutouts my senior year. Almost got a WPIAL and state title that year, but we came up short. Lost to the same team twice. So,
well, that's incredible. That's an incredible background.
Well, I'll take it. I don't know. It's not bad.
Italy or Jig, you want to go next, and then I'll go.
Yeah, go ahead, Italy.
So, congratulations on the Hall of Fame and for College Hall of Fame, and also with Penn State. You've done a lot with Penn State. You've done a lot with the Redskins. Talk to me about how much that meant to you being inducted in the Hall of Fame for college in your Penn State days.
Yeah, I think if people know me, they know that my college means everything to me. It's just like synonymous with my family. Heck, I don't even have my kids tattooed on me, and I have the Penn State Nittany line tattooed. So,
there you go.
I bleed blue and white. It's something that I love, and I cherish the legacy of it. The my lineage connected to the school now. It's just super important to me, and being a representative and ambassador of our school. It's a fine university. I would recommend anyone to go there for academic purposes, agricultural reasons, all kinds of medical. Where our philanthropy, our student-ran philanthropy is the largest one in the world. We raise money for pediatric cancer through Thon. So our school is an amazing school. It's an amazing institution. And you may be wondering, well, how does that apply to the question that you asked? I don't have that type of connection to any of the pro teams that I played for. I love the fans. I spent six years in Washington, and my greatest experiences were with the fans and with my teammates. But outside of that, we all kind of know that story, and I'm sure y'all may ask me about that. But college meant the most to me out of everything. And so to have a career that actually has a punctuation mark, an exclamation point as that punctuation mark, is pretty cool. It's been pretty humbling. It's been pretty exciting, and at times a tad bit overwhelming to know that, I'm one of 26 guys from Penn State to ever go into it. And while that might sound like kind of a lot of numbers, a lot of guys, I mean, the amount of guys in the College Football Hall of Fame, I believe, is like 0.002% of all college players that have played the game at college level. So I'm blessed and super. I don't usually say I'm super proud of myself for something, but I'm definitely super proud to have accomplished that.
Congratulations, man. It's very well deserved. Very well deserved.
It's incredible. The videos looked incredible. Just awesome.
You definitely
from your page, your Instagram page.
Thank you.
Yeah, you definitely.
Well, LeVar, you mentioned it. People might have a question, right? They'll want to touch on certain subjects. I won't be the guy. I'll let somebody else bring it up. All right.
You guys, you don't have to. It's no big. I mean, it's well, it's documented, so it's not. I wouldn't be disclosing any military secrets. You guys can ask your question.
Wow.
Yeah, so I figure we'll get to that topic, but I kind of want to go back because you just said, you don't usually say you're blessed or, proud of yourself, right?
Oh, no, I always say I'm blessed. I generally don't say I'm proud of myself.
Proud of yourself, okay.
Just staying humble and staying, I'm confidently humble. So I'm confident as all get out. But sometimes people mistake confidence for arrogance, and I would say I'm humbly confident.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So, and that was kind of what I was going to lean, because obviously we can look at the fact that, the military family you bring up, right? You've got that foundation there. But you obviously are a man who's highly favored, right? I mean, we're looking at round one, pick number 2, college football Hall of Fame, the career you had. And then on top of that, to end the career and still be involved in the game like you are with your podcast and around the players that it is. Do you contribute that a lot to your upbringing, or also the fact that it was just a lot of hard work and grinding on your part as well?
Yeah, I think they're all synonymous, right? I think there's a connection, there's a relationship between your upbringing. Mm-hmm. I grew up in a mother and a father home, so they manned the home as a woman and a man. So I knew what it was to see a man's role, and I knew what it was to see a woman's role. I learned a lot about things that had nothing to do with athletics or sports. It was just everything about being a person. And I think that set the tone for a firm foundation of why I was able to accomplish at the level that I did at such an early age, and why I've been able to sustain that level of accomplishment. It actually, I think the environment that my parents created for me and my siblings was an environment that was conducive to belief, and there was structure, and there was an understanding that anything that's worth something, what you put into it is what you get out of it. And it kind of sounds cliche, but it really is true. What you put into your community is what you will get out of your community. What you put into your daily, build and growth as a person is what you will get out of it as you become more of a person that's living life. It's the same thing with sports. So I always tell people I was great at the things that I did because I never embraced being those things. I just always embraced being the best person that I can be. And I brought me being the best person that I could be to the things that I did. So I never subscribed to, I'm a football player. Like, you're a football player. Like, no, I play football. LeVar plays football. Mm-hmm. You do this. No, LeVar does that. So I'm always a person first. I never wanted to be recognized for anything else other than that. So, and it always ultimately, my mother and my father, and it's really a generational thing with my family. My grandparents did it as well. We were always ones to take people in and to always help others. And I always found that the most influential people while I was growing up were successful guys. And I realized at a really young age that if I wanted to, invoke change, or have the trust that when I say you can do this and you need to change your approach, or you need to keep going, or whatever it may be, I just realized that if I was great at certain things that people paid attention to, that I would have more of a voice. So it just really became a way to create a platform for me to have relevancy and have a voice to speak to people.
Well, I love that.
Wow, that's powerful. I love that.
Absolutely. Yeah, the person first. I love that line, right? The person first. Yes, LeVar plays football. I'm not a football player. I love that. And, that's something I, honestly, to take with me with every role that we play in our day-to-day. It's like, I'm not the content guy. I'm a person before I am everything else. So I appreciate that, LeVar.
Yes, keep yourself limitless, 100%.
Mm-hmm. It's a great way.
First of all, before obviously family is really important. So congrats to you on the Penn State Hall of Fame. And also, we just want to say thank you to your family for their service, for serving in the military. And because that takes a lot of courage for them to serve the military. So I don't want to take that for granted. So kudos to them, and thank you for them to serve the country. But my question is, obviously Penn State has a lot of history, legacy to that team, and for you being from Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, what was that like for you, just to stay close to home and have your family and friends come see you play at the Penn State games? And also, like I said, Jay Paterno, you got Lenny Moore, Larry Johnson, Marcus Allen, who played for Penn State. And what are your thoughts of being part of Penn State history?
I mean, we just obviously laid to rest Franco Harris, and when I think about what we represent, I've always saw us as representing ourselves as a cut above. We respected academics, we respected being pillars in the community. We respected just doing things the right way. And that was what attracted me to Penn State so much. And it turned out to be very true. I hate that we had a moment in time where that image was shattered, and it became more of a pariah of sorts in terms of what we represented. But it never changed. It never changed. And I always tell people, there's always a couple things that I get when I talk about my school with people who may or may not have a whole lot of knowledge about our school is, did you know? And basically, what was going on at Penn State. Yeah, and right. I always tell people the first answer is, how exactly do you ask that question in good sound mind? Did I know? Right? That's more of a kind of reflection on your level of the magnitude of what took place. It's interesting because I knew one of the victims, and so to ask the question without any type of understanding or context, I'm sympathetic to it and I'm patient about it, but it also raises the question of, what does that say about you in that moment? Because there are so many more relevant questions that you could ask on the topic versus did you know, right? So I answer with that, how would an 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old young man actually know that these things were taking place?
Yeah.
That's one thing. You're trying to keep your grades up. You're trying to be an athlete. You have all these rules on you. So you basically don't sleep when you're in college, because it's college. It's your schoolwork and it's football, right? They tell you otherwise. You're a student athlete, but you're an athlete student. And for the most part, unless you're really into your grades, which I never trusted anybody to do my work for me. So I didn't have people sitting around typing my papers out or taking my tests for me. I did that on my own. So I didn't sleep in college. So I was always trying to get my work done and be productive in all facets. So no, I didn't know. And then secondly, what was going on is the same thing I just said. We were being great. And we were working to be a cut above and raise the flag of what a standard of a college student athlete is supposed to look like. And we just happened to have a person that was a significant part of our program and our school's history do some things that, well, are horrible things. So that's kind of how I look at it. And when I look at my level of pride and my level of being proud of being a Penn State Nittany Lion, it never waned, it never wavered. I felt like it really divided our community in a lot of ways because of just the abrupt moving on from Joe when it all happened. But even then, I still felt as though being what I represented to the school and what we've all learned in our time there was to be a positive, shining example like we've always been, even in the darkest hour of what took place. And that's how I live my life. That was why I chose to go to Penn State. You mentioned my family being able to be a part of it. That's 100% correct. I had a lot of other opportunities. Obviously, I was the high school player of the year coming out of high school, my senior year. So I kind of had my choice of where I wanted to go, but I just felt like the values and what Penn State represented as people versus don't sell me on your uniform, don't sell me on your stadium size. When I went on my visits, I think I went on an official visit. I went on one official visit, and that was after I had already committed. The two visits that I had went on, I went to Pitt, which is obviously where I'm from, and I went to Penn State, and those were unofficial visits. Like they were unofficial. They weren't even unofficial. Me and my parents literally jumped in the car and drove to the campus and was walking the campus. Oh. And people recognized who we were. And then, they came running up to us. And this is a true story. It's a big reason why I committed so early to Penn State. When I was at Pitt, somebody came up to me. They're like, oh, it's so cool that you're on campus, this, that, and the other. We're going to see if we can get you a meeting with Johnny Majors. Stuff like that doesn't really, it's like, okay, we didn't want that attention. We just wanted to walk the campus and see the grounds from a different perspective. I've always seen it as a kid, and we drove through it quite a bit, but I never saw it as like, here's a potential landing spot for me to go to school. So we were walking, and then they come back to me and they're like, oh, well, Coach Majors is unavailable right now, so we'll reschedule you for another meeting. We was like, it's no worries, no big deal. We just continued our visit. And then the next week we went up to Penn State. And these were planned trips. Like, this wasn't like, oh, I didn't like Pitt and went to Penn State to look at Penn State. It was just Pitt was closer. So we went to Pitt. Then we went to Penn State the very next week. And so when we went to Penn State, we were doing the same thing. We were walking the campus and we were checking things out. And it was my first time ever on Penn State's campus. And once again, somebody recognized us. The coaches come running, one thing, we're going to get a hold of Coach Paterno. They come back there like, yeah, Coach Paterno's in Washington with the president right now. And I was like, it's no worries. Like, we're good. We're just walking the campus. Like, it's okay. I don't want all of this attention. And they're like, no, it's cool. Like, they chartered him a jet. He's flying in right now to come see you. So he actually left Washington, D.C. He actually left Washington, D.C. and came in that same day and came to meet me and my parents. And I think I committed the next day.
That's awesome.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so that's true story.
Wow. Mr. President, I got to go. We've got LeVar on campus. I'll be back. That's crazy.
It's like, don't let him leave. Don't let him leave.
There are a lot of.
He knew he had another legacy in his house, and he got home as soon as he could.
Well, it's interesting because a lot of reports talk about how we had a very, very complicated relationship. A lot of misinterpretations of how I was, maybe even how he was. He was certainly a coaching icon in my book, and was a major reason why I went there. And so once I got there, I started to realize that Joe ran a program that was more about conditioning you and preparing you for life. It wasn't conditioning you and preparing you so much for football. The football was the football. And you had to maintain that balance. But his main priority was for us to become prepared for what was ahead in life.
Wow.
And I think that's why it really resonated with me, because I'm LeVar that plays football, not the football player. So that was really cool to me. And, even though that it is kind of documented that we had our head butting moments, I appreciate it, and to this day I appreciate him very much for challenging me and challenging my teammates the way that he did, to be more, to expect more from yourself, to push yourself for more, and to extend yourself. It would be easy to just be an athlete and try to buck the system and just do things in a way where you cut corners. But because it was that investment in time in yourself, that investment in your teammates, the investment in the things that we did were significant in terms of what our results were. I mean, I wish we could have won a national title, but it didn't happen that way. But I wouldn't trade my college experience for anything in the world. And so I'm so glad I made the decision to go there. I'm glad that they wanted me. I'm glad that I'm still embraced as one of the greats to do it there. It means everything to me to be able to give back to that community, and be a part of that community in the way that I am.
Wow.
Amen. They're so glad.
Lovely said. Lovely said.
The community is so woven. It's so different. I've visited many colleges. I actually went to WVU, but my father went to Penn State, and I made the mistake of not really visiting there because I was, I was just focused on West Virginia. I don't know why. They said, like, sure, you don't want to go to Penn State. But when I finally went to Penn State as an adult, I went as a kid, visiting with him. But when I finally went as an adult, it was absolutely incredible. The community, the energy, it's so different from so many colleges. What do you think it is about just like woven into that community? It's like a love, it's an energy. It's just so different. It's so special. I wish I had gone there, but I love West Virginia.
It's interesting because I've never really got acclimated to any other campus.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't even be able to give you an educated answer on what makes us different. I just know when I got there, the amount of love and the amount of excitement that I felt, it was just it was amazing to me. It just felt right. And that was all you could really want out of a situation. I guess if I would have felt differently, I would have kept taking visits and kept measuring it out. Being from Pittsburgh, there are a lot of guys that I was close with growing up that were heroes to me that went to Pitt and went to West Virginia, and some of them went to Ohio State. Some of them left the state. So, but a lot of times our best talent did stay in state, did stay at Penn State or went to Pitt. I just felt like our culture there, when I went there as a teen and as a young man, it just what the people represented was what was most impressive to me. The way we treated one another, the way we treated, heck, even the wildlife. Like the squirrels in State College, it's funny. They're not afraid of the students.
Well,
you could see at any point in time where a student is taking a break from doing their work and they're feeding a squirrel. It's just, I just like that it wasn't the city. I guess I grew up city, and just being in a place where it was just totally focused in on school and sports. And that was really it. And it was such a self-contained space. It just felt safe. And it was just a real great energy about it. And I think that was the allure for me. But I really couldn't compare it to other campuses because I didn't spend that much time. I never spent time really being on a campus other than Penn State.
I think everything you share that is incredible. So that I'm so happy with that. How does it feel to give back, or to, you're the icon now, you're the hero, you're the example that they've said, we're going to honor you with this Hall of Fame award. How does it feel to connect with the players now?
It feels great. And that's why I stay active.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's the thing about it is a lot of legends just disappear. They have their career and then they're talked about in like a legendary way, like you're a legend. If I look at legend is like as legend has it. You know what I mean? Like
you're relevant. You're in there still. That's amazing.
I just keep grinding, and I just feel like, again, I told you from the start, it was all about being relevant enough to be an example and to be an inspiration. And that continues to be the way I live my life. People ask me all the time, you made so much money playing ball. Why do you work so hard now? And I always say, first of all, I retired at 27. I wasn't even 30 years old when I retired from playing football. I'll be 45 in June. So you think about all those years, it's almost been 20 years or so since 06, '06. It's like what? It's 2023, so 17 years,
Yeah.
16, 17
Dang.
years,
Wow.
right?
Yep.
So when you start to think about how much time, the amount of time that it took me to make it to the NFL and the amount of time altogether. So 4 years of youth football, 4 years of high school football, 3 years of college football. Where are we at? 11 years.
Mm-hmm.
7 years of pro football, 18 years of playing football. I've almost lived post football, as much post football life as I did my entire youth life of playing ball all the way up into my adult life. So to think about how much time that took just to make it to college, it felt like an eternity, but it was only 8 years, right? You're talking about the playing in the college, the amount of time that it took to go to the league. It felt like an eternity, but it was only 3 years.
Yeah.
You know, to make it into the league, it felt like an eternity playing in the league and trying to get to where you were going. And then all of a sudden it's gone. It's over. And then now you look at it and it's like a snapping of the finger, right?
Yeah.
And so for me, there was so much more life to live that, you know, I'm going to always bet on myself, and I'm going to always take chances, and I'm going to always try to create opportunities. And in doing so, I do that to continue to be an example to others that come after me. And so that I can ultimately try to work to create a legacy that not only represents what Penn State has been to me, but it also represents who I am and how my family have raised and guided, you know, me to be the person that I've become in my life. So I'm always motivated to continue to grind and continue to accomplish. It's like, it's cool to accomplish one thing. Like, I accomplished being great at playing ball. But imagine if you can take that same approach and you can apply it to other things in your life, and you can become great at doing those things as well. I'm intrigued by that challenge, and it motivates me to kind of stay hungry. I try to live like a normal person and keep myself motivated and hungry to keep trying to achieve. Like, I have to make it. I have to do this to make it. I have to be this, be on time, you know, do it the way that you're supposed to do it, so that I can be rewarded in a way where I can be happy about what it is that I did, and be an example when I tell people that they should trust the process.
Mm-hmm.
Amen. Man, your personal standards are up there. That's great.
Man, I love
results. Therefore, just like you said, it comes back. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Man, I love everything you're saying, man. That's always spot on. So 2 things.
Yeah.
I've been doing Twitter spaces with your son recently. Very impressive young man. He's got a bright future ahead of him. And also my next question is, you talk to me about Sean Taylor. You've done commercials with him. You played a year or two with him. In my mind, one of the most underrated players of all
Really?
time. I love Sean Taylor.
Underrated?
Talk to me about your relationship with him.
You know, it was that again was a mentor relationship. You know, the media, you know, kind of sensationalizes stuff sometimes. So the whole rookie hazing deal and the football story, like, it's still kind of embarrassing to this day to see it. But the root of our relationship and what our relationship was while he was living was that of being a mentor and a role model. Yeah. You know, I was the face of that franchise when they, you know, drafted him. And he ended up being the face of the franchise once they drafted him, and that mantle passed. But, you know, the one thing that I always appreciated about Sean is he always respected my opinion. And we had quite a few, just a lot of private moments, even with Jackie, his girlfriend, fiance, you know, me and my wife, and she was my girlfriend for a time, and then my wife during our time, we spent a lot of time with them, and just imparted knowledge and just really, I took an active interest in wanting to see him develop into, what ultimately I knew he would be, which was an amazing football player, which he already was that anyway, right. But an amazing pro, and more importantly, what he needed to be to Jackie, and then eventually having baby Jackie. My wife and Jackie, big Jackie, are still close to this day.
Love that.
And my daughter Marley and baby Jackie, who they're not babies anymore, but they're very close still to this day as well. So they're on the volleyball circuit, and even though they're from different places, they actually see each other during volleyball travel season, and it's always nice to get a FaceTime where they're at the tournaments together and spending time together at the tournaments. So, but Sean was a special player. I don't know that I would ever use underrated connected to Sean Taylor, but I mean, I guess it's all about how you view it. But
a legend. I think he's a legend.
GOAT.
Yeah.
The GOAT.
Yeah. He certainly had his trajectory was off the charts in terms of anything that we had ever seen at the position.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
All right. So I'm going to jump into I want to know for you, LeVar, during your NFL days, man, what was that highlight moment, but also what was a low moment in your career? If you had to pick the highest and the lowest, what would they be?
I don't really think about my NFL career too often. I would probably say the highest moment was getting drafted. The lowest moment was when the realization of the business of the NFL and the results that I would never have saw myself falling victim to was probably the lowest point.
Wow. Can you expand on both of those? That's incredible.
I mean, I think kind of the draft part is kind of self-explanatory.
But how did it feel? Like
you made it. I thought I would. I thought I'd be more emotional about it. I thought that I would probably possibly cry even. But I didn't. It didn't impact me that way, and I was just ready. I recall when they called my name, I was just ready. Like I immediately was like, I'm about to tear this S up.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, here we go, and at the time I'm like, they just made the playoffs. They got these picks because of a trade. So this is actually a good team. I'm not even going to a rebuild. They were in the divisional round, so, and then was that good enough?
Yeah. You're ready to go.
All right.
That's good.
Because then it was good for a while, but when the milk went bad, it went horribly bad. And really, it's funny. I was just with Chad Bailey not too long ago. We was having because we were in the same class for the College Hall of Fame, so we spent a lot of time together during the circuit that we were on, and we just had a couple conversations, and I was like, you left. Like, indirectly, Champ Bailey ruined my NFL career. And that's what I told him, right? So I said, if you think about it, I had a deal where I think I had I don't know, it had to have been about 5 or 6 years left or something like that on the deal. I had a long-term deal, and my earning capacity, my earning average was at 12 million or something like that. And when Champ decided he wasn't going to redo his contract because he wanted out of DC, they were put in a salary cap crunch. And so they had some serious dilemmas where they had to get contracts restructured to get the salary, underneath the cap. So Champ not wanting to redo do his contract because he was going to leave. My dumb ass says, I'll do it. Like, I'm trying to help the team. Like, if Champ don't want to be here, then I got to be here. So I'm a restructure, right? Come to find out, Champ didn't want to leave DC. They just said they weren't going to pay him.
Wow.
Oh. And he was basically like, look, if y'all aren't going to pay me, if the restructuring of the contract isn't restructuring to pay me, then I'm going to leave. And I'll go somewhere where they respect me. I just found that out when we were doing the Hall of Fame circuit. I never knew the story.
Oh, wow.
I just thought he wanted to leave.
Wow.
You know? And it turned out he didn't want to leave, but they just didn't want to pay him. And then come to find out, they restructured my contract. There's a mistake. There's a signing bonus, a bonus missing, and they didn't want to pay me. They didn't want to rectify the situation, and then turned me into like public enemy number one. You know, and it was like it turned into such a horrible time. And so for me, that's probably the worst is when I realized that, you know, the integrity of doing things wasn't always going like what I grew up in, and how you're supposed to look people in their eyes and have a firm handshake. And I wouldn't even need a piece of paper to do a deal. Like we could shake hands. What, old school? You spit on your hand, you shake each other's hands, and you keep it moving. You got a deal. That wasn't real life. And I almost feel like I was like Adam in the goddamn Garden of Eden, right? Like my eyes were opened, you know, and once they were open, I never looked at life or football, you know, the same again. It was a life changer.
It's a truth. Yeah.
It's a truth. There you go.
And I appreciate you talking about it too, because I always ask for advice for the youth. And I'm sure your answer could be that, or it could be different, but I think it's such an important financial literacy, understanding, and security is such an important thing for the youth to understand going into professional sports, that the contracts are so important. Business isn't personal, it's business, but a contract's a contract. So we learn sometimes the hard way that it has to be in place and double checked and just honored, because it's terrible when we're not honored, and then we're trapped and we have to perform without being compensated. That is just
I was still being
it could cause mental health issues.
100%.
You know what I mean? I've heard that from a lot of players.
100%.
Contract south causes, like, I had people that wanted to end their life because they had to be benched. They couldn't perform. They were locked in their team. They were benched, and they weren't allowed to play, because if they played, they'd fulfill their contract. They'd have to make all that money. And so contracts are very important.
It's important. And again, for me, it's just the integrity of how you do things, you know, the competency of how you're supposed. I had came from traditionally legendary, well-structured programs. You know, like I said, I went through youth league all the way through high school in the same league. I knew the plays of the high school by the time I got there. I knew the tradition. I understood the culture of it, and you acclimate very nicely into the culture of the high school team. The same thing happened in college, but it wasn't the same thing in the pros. And so you're 100% correct. And it goes back to the conversation of why Penn State was so important to me. When I had all of those things going wrong, the reason why I didn't lose my mind or go postal up in at Redskins Park or do something to harm myself or harm the people who love me in my life was because I wasn't a football player. I played football. And so if this was the end of it, if this was what it was going to be, I don't like it to this day. I don't like the way my NFL career went, but I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. You know, you're going to do things in your life where you don't like the results of it. You don't get to do football over. right? It's not one of those things like I failed, let's try it again. Like, okay, now here's the time. Like once that time is gone, it's gone. And but I'm so secure in the identity of who I am. I am so okay being in the skin that I'm in, that I never made it a racial thing. If you look back on it, you won't find a quote of me making it racial. You won't. It was purely based upon the money. Yeah. And that's what it turned into. But for me, I'm always going to win. My mindset is I'm always going to win. So when I went to New York, I loved New York. I loved everything about the ownership group, the Mayors and the Tisch family, grade A, first class people. And really, people ask the question, why did I choose New York in free agency? And one of the biggest reasons why was the what I had always heard about Wellington, Mara and William Tisch, the Tisch family, like, you know, the Duke. Like, I heard so many great things about New York. Yeah. And it really, ultimately, I was looking for redemption of humanity. I was not looking for redemption of my career. And so when I chose New York, I chose New York because I felt like, just like when I chose the college I went to, first of all, I got to choose. Like, I didn't choose Washington. They chose me. But this was an opportunity for me to choose. And when I chose New York, in the short amount of time that I was there, I realized that the people that I grew up knowing and thinking highly of existed at that high of a level. And I was okay. Like, at that point, my career was basically over because I had lost the love of the game. And so I didn't necessarily want to play anymore. And then when I blew my Achilles tendon, it was just kind of like, I'll rehab. I told Coach Coughlin and Ernie Accorsi, he was the GM at the time, I told them I will respect my contractual obligations. And I'm going to work my ass off to get back into shape and get in condition to play. But I'm playing in pain. And they let me go. They released me. They didn't ask for anything back. They released me. People don't know that. And a lot of people think that I retired because I was in a motorcycle accident. Right. Yeah. I was well done. When I left, when I was released from the Giants, I was done. But I didn't care enough about all of it to be like, let's hold a press conference. Let's make an official announcement. LeVar is retiring. Like, first of all, I didn't think I had a good enough career to even for anybody to care anyway. But then secondly, it was just kind of like, I fulfilled what I was hoping to fulfill when I went to New York. The mission was accomplished. And I wish I would have looked at it a tad bit differently because they won the Super Bowl the next year. So I kind of wish I would have maybe approached it. Maybe I was a tad bit premature, maybe getting the Super Bowl ring and then saying to Coach Coughlin, like, you know, right. I'm hurting, you know, I got the Super Bowl ring, like, you know, but, and then if I would have lived through the life of that contract, I would have got 2 Super Bowl rings. I get 2 Super Bowl rings, maybe 1 more Pro Bowl. That's probably a Hall of Fame career. Yeah. Right. You know, so, but that wasn't God's plan. And that doesn't define me. So it was okay. I was happy for the team. I was happy for them. And again, I was just happy to have left knowing that every organization in the National Football League was not like Washington. And that was kind of all I needed. And then I was done. Like, that was it.
Wow. So I think the way that you held yourself and carried yourself and your mindset is exactly like the example that should be followed by everyone, because it's knowing when something's run its course. My greatness is being directed, or I'm directable into the next area of expertise where I can shine. And you just, change that. We're able to switch that mindset, instantly. And I think that's incredible. It's an incredible way to be. It's light. It's not being tied down.
I did ram a motorcycle at like 50 miles per hour into a guardrail though.
Yeah.
I mean, that did happen. Wow. I was thrill seeking. I was adrenaline rushing, but it wasn't what you said, right? It's exact. What you said is 100% correct. The stupidity of getting on the bike was, I'm afraid of heights. So I'm not going to thrill seek jumping out of an airplane. I'm not like, it was like, what are you going to take up as a hobby to get your adrenaline going? I was lifting weights. That wasn't doing it. So I jumped on a bike and I was like, holy S, like,
yeah,
like this is wild. Like the way it made you. And I had failed a couple times before I even hit the guardrail. So my dumb ass should have known not to get out there riding the bike. I'm riding it around, and right before I had my twins, I had a fall on the bike and had totally skinned myself up pretty good. Wow. And then a couple weeks later or whatever, that was when, the big accident happened. But it was like, I didn't care because I had no fear. And my pain, it was like, when I skinned myself up, I was like, it's what it felt like when I played ball.
Right.
So there was weird idiosyncrasies that was connected to, like, when I hit the ground and I was hurt, and it was like, this hurts, this weird. I liked it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So
I know.
like,
and it's fast. I love to drive fast, and I got in a car accident, and I swear, when I was 6, and I swear it stopped me from, driving my whole life as a race car driver. I'm a designer, but I swear that the accident prevented me from being a lead foot. Now I love to drive. I would, as a kid, I would go like way over, like over 100, just because it felt so good. But we got to take it to the track. And so, but like you, I'm so glad that you survived. I mean, we had Jay Williams on the show, and his accident changed his life, his motorcycle accident. So it's like, we can't shame ourselves for loving the feel. It's like you feel free. The wind is blowing. You're ripping through air. It's incredible.
Yeah.
But kids, take it to the track.
I don't feel ashamed about it. I just wouldn't touch a bike again because I don't have I don't have fear.
Yeah.
I don't fear too much of anything. Like, I've learned fear having a wife and kids. You know what I mean? But outside of that, as it applies to me and how I live my life, I don't live in fear. So I just I don't have a regret for it. But the point of me telling the story really is that I did seek the thrill. Like, I did seek the like that
next thrill.
Like, you're like, at one point in time, I do this, right? And there's 100,000 people. It's like, right? And now it's like,
damn.
That was the best slow motion impression I've ever seen. TX. I thought your camera was on slow mo.
Right? It was quiet.
Yeah.
It was just too quiet. Like, and it's funny because the first part of retirement quiet was nice. Like, I didn't sleep. Like I told you, I didn't sleep, like really sleep, until I retired from football. And I think I'll say I slept for like 3 years. And the first year I slept, I really enjoyed it. The second year I was sleeping, I was waking up and I needed more.
Yeah.
I needed more. Like, I need stimulation. And that was when I started picking up the bike, it just is what it is. But like, it just, for me, it still was like, I enjoy being imperfect. I don't want anybody to think I'm a superhero. I don't want anybody to think that I'm anything different than just a normal dude I just happen to have like military thoughts. Like I'm a common man with not so common expectations. Wow. And that's just kind of who I am. You know, I make mistakes. I'm not perfect. I don't need to be perfect, and I don't want anybody to think that I am or try to be perfect based off of me. I want you to know that this is, you know, authentically, organically how I live. But at the same time, I don't want you making the same mistakes that I've made. And so if I tell you something that where I don't want you to make the same, you know, errors that I made, critical errors, then I hope you listen. You know, the interesting thing, last part about the whole motorcycle thing is you're like, I'm glad you made it. I'm glad you're here. You know, the wildest thing I remember my speedometer being at 50 miles per hour. That was the last thing I remember. Wow. I had to have hit that. I had to hit the guardrail at least at 50 miles per hour. So if you think about it, I could be in purgatory right now. I could be just getting my opportunity to, this could be life after death. I don't know. I don't even know. Like, honestly, it might sound like weird.
No, it doesn't.
But 50 miles per hour on a motorcycle and you hit a guardrail. Now, granted, I have the scars to show for what it is. And I guess if I was living in purgatory, I may not have a damaged body. I just don't know. I don't know, you know. But as it applies, as it so seems, I still have the same wife. I still have the same kids. I made a new one along the way, and I'm still living in America. So I kind of have confirmation that if this is purgatory, it actually puts you right back in the space that you were, and you got to continue from where you're at to try to get it right the rest of the way. So there you go.
Wow, that's
powerful.
What a story, man. This is crazy. And I actually one of our close friends passed away in a motorcycle accident too. He was a cop, Lakewood cop where we live, and he was doing he was going over the speed limit, but it was raining, so he slipped and hit like a tree and unfortunately didn't make it. So that is just devastating to see those type of stories. And thank you for sharing that, by the way.
Thank you.
And it's really, really inspiring and moving because, like I said, we lost our close friend to it. Like he was a cop too, and which is more devastating. But can you tell our fans about? There's an interesting draft story. My friend Rich told me about this. I didn't know about Courtney Brown being drafted before you, number one. And can you talk about that? Your teammate from Penn State, and then you guys going back to back in the draft. And what was that like for you guys? And what did you guys do after that? And tell our fans about some of your best moments at Penn State.
Well, yeah. I mean, being with Courtney is one of the greatest football players I've ever seen. One of the most impressive football players I ever seen with my own two eyes. I mean, the things that Courtney did, it's still it boggles the mind. It's like almost like, how can a bear climb a tree? You know, how can a leopard go up a tree with an impala or a deer in its mouth? You know, it's like, it's hard to comprehend some things. Courtney Brown was hard to comprehend. And that's how great his greatness was. But even more so than him as a player, Courtney Brown is one of the most phenomenal people that you'll ever meet. Yeah. Very quiet, very, very soft-spoken, but yet very deliberate. It's a very, very uniquely, very super, I guess, country removed. Like small town, like one gas station. If you're getting directions, is make a right at the red pickup truck. You'll see three cows. Make a left there. Go a little bit further. You'll hit a dirt road, and then the house should be at the end of that road. Like one of them type deals. Wow. And I mean, he's just if you could draw up what the perfect person is supposed to look like and how their mannerisms are supposed to be and how they're supposed to handle things, he's it. He's like a super warrior. It's like here's the objective. Here's what you need to do. You look at Courtney. Courtney's looking at you like,
go time.
And it's literally with that look of intensity, but there's not a whole lot of words. And so for us to be on the field at the same time, and then Brandon Short and Mac Morrison and, a host of other guys, but that box that I was in, 100% why I had the type of career that I had. And people often ask, if you loved Penn State so much, why did you leave early? Mm-hmm. Courtney Brown was graduating. Brandon Short was graduating. Mac Morrison was graduating. Do y'all want me to keep going? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not coming back. I'm not coming back. Like, I'm not risking my stock sliding because I got to play on a field without Courtney Brown and Brandon Short. Like Mac Morrison, like, nope. Linebacking core, nope. Courtney Brown leaving, nope. Not nope. So anyway, Courtney was that good. Courtney was, he was just that. He ran a 4.5 40. He's like 6'6", 267, something crazy, like just a freak. And so it just to know that we made history. Like, I think in modern NFL, we're the only two to ever do it.
Wow.
Like all these years, it's like one other time, Irvin Fryer and someone else from Nebraska were like the first. But I don't know that was modern era NFL, the first and only modern era 1 and 2s overall in the draft. So I think that tells you a lot about the type of talent that was coming out of Penn State. It's interesting, like still a lot of.
Nope.
But draft experience with him was pretty interesting because back then they negotiated pick, right? So they were trying to negotiate with me, and I actually believe that I would have been the number 1 overall pick had I took the contract offer that they offered me. But I told them, if y'all don't pay me like a quarterback, there's no way I'm coming to Cleveland. I'm not going to be a Cleveland Brown. If y'all, and so. Wow. So they called Courtney, and I called Courtney before they called him. And I told Courtney when they got off the phone with me, if they call you to negotiate hard, because I'm not going to negotiate with them. So that was kind of the uniqueness of that opportunity. Was the two guys that they were looking at for the number 1 pick went to the same school. So I'm on the cell phone. I'm on the phone with Courtney like, hey, get your money. Like, they want me too. So if they want me and I'm telling them I want this, you get your money, push the number up,
Yeah.
So but it was cool. Like, aside from all that, the experience of it, being pinnacle of your career, to be able to share that with not only your family, but to actually have had a teammate that's so good that it's like, the 2000 NFL draft is underway. Cleveland's on the clock. At Courtney, like, there's my teammate. I'm not going to be all up in his face because it's his time. It's his moment. It's his family. So I'm here. I'm going to dap him up and give him a big hug. But golly, like talk about a pair that's your hero. Like, Courtney Brown and Brandon Short are two of my biggest pair heroes that I've ever had. Still to this day. So it's pretty cool to have experienced getting drafted, boom, Washington on the clock. I get up, I get drafted. Like, just super cool. 2 Penn Staters showed up to the draft, and we owned that bad boy that year, and that's kind of what it was. Yeah, now you can pick the rest of them,
Hey,
Love it.
You're gonna
That's
like
the
this
draft story.
You're gonna like this. We had Brandon Short on the show too.
B Short is the man.
Yeah.
B Short is the man.
Well, I've got one. If you guys don't mind, I'm gonna jump in real quick. But LeVar, with you doing the podcast and still being around, the league, do a lot of the young guys, right? Because obviously us guys over 40, we're automatically in that OG category now, right? We hit that threshold. So a lot of these young guys, do they come to you for advice? Do you see them try to pick your brain with a lot of these guests that you guys get on the shows and stuff like that? And, is that something that you look forward to with helping them?
Some of them do. That's just like even when I played. Some of them do. Some of them seek knowledge, and some of them seek wisdom, and they seek it from where they seek it from. And some people don't, and so the ones that do, I always take them in, and I always give them as much as I can so that they try to shape their journey the way that, they want to, but shape it in a way where they're proud of it, where it's, they have the opportunity to accomplish at a high level. I don't think success is by accident. I don't think I ended up being the highest rated dude in the draft by accident. I don't think that I ended up going number 2 overall by accident. So when people come to me and they talk to me, it's with how I am, because I just believe that if I truly, my mom always said, I say this to my, they leave for school. It was always a connecting statement. My mom would always say to us before she left, work hard. And our response is to be a star. Work hard to be a star. And that was something that we said every single day, every morning. And so that became like a part of me. Like, I work hard to be a star. I'm not working hard just to work hard.
Love it.
I work hard to be a star.
Yep.
I love it.
Love it.
That was a standard, and so that was just kind of how how I approach things, and so being very intentional in terms of how I approached pretty much everything that I was doing. I don't even remember what the original question was, though.
It's right though.
So whatever it is that you asked me, I don't know how I got to where I got to, but I apologize for that. I can't expand because I don't remember what the original question was. You guys have taken me past my threshold of time too, by the way. I've already spoken for 3 hours today, but I'm enjoying you guys.
Sorry about
Let's
that.
go.
Sorry about that.
All right. Let's go.
All right,
LeVar, what's your key to balance since time is of the essence and you do so much still? Then now, what's your key to balance? Personal balance.
Oof. I don't know that I figured that one out yet.
Okay.
I don't know that I figured that one out yet. I try to achieve balance. I think the key to balance is ultimately trying to achieve balance. For me,
I've never heard of that.
Hey, man, I love that.
I think for me, I think that's because ultimately, right, like people lose spouses, they lose families, they lose things. I think I'm so well intentioned with how I live my life, and I'm very intentional. I'm not only well intentioned, but I'm intentional. And so I think I'm a workaholic. I work my ass off, and sometimes a lot of times it takes me away from doing some of the normal things that parents that don't do as much as I do are able to do. But I think because my kids and my wife appreciate that, I would love to be there, or I would love to, take a break and hang out with my wife or whatever it may be. I think because they know that's where I'm how I think and where I'm coming from, that they support how I am. And I think that balance is like a moving scale, like it's a moving deal. And because my family is so supportive of how hard I work, they're working hard and everybody pulls their weight. And I think we adjust and we adapt to making things work in a way where when we do spend time together, it matters. When we huddle up, it matters. When we play chess and play Connect Four and Monopoly, like it all matters. Like it's not casual. We're playing to win. And we're playing to win because we're a competitive family, but we're also a family that respects and enjoys the times when we can come together, like, which is pretty much a lot of times it's every day. It's just not a lot of time every day. You know what I mean? So I just think the balance of it all is you gotta get as much accomplished. You gotta be a good servant for as long as you can. I won't always have the energy to put forth to get these types of results. So I'm going to get as much out of it as I can before I slow down. And I have to find the balance of what it is that goes with getting older. If I'm blessed enough to get older and get old, I just want to have done enough where when I call it quits, like this is enough. This is good. Like I've done enough. Like I can step back now.
You've done great. I get you. You've done great.
I want to be there. I want to be there when I can't do it anymore. You know, and that's just kind of, so for me, you know, and to create that work ethic and that environment for my kids, I feel is vital to their lives as well. Like you mentioned, interviewing my oldest son, you know, their work ethic and their approach and their humility and their level of understanding. I'm super proud of them. I'm super proud of the way they conduct themselves. I'm super proud of the way they approach their everyday lives. You know, they're kids. I mean, some of them, one may be a little bit more tidier than the other one. You know, one may have trash on the floor in their room and needs to be leaned on a little bit more for organizational skills. You know, some need to compartmentalize a little better than the other ones. They all have things that they need to work on. But all in all, I couldn't be happier to have the kids. Like I wouldn't trade my kids for anybody else. Like I love my kids. And I love my family. I love my wife. I love my family. And I just couldn't be any prouder of knowing that we're that example for them, and that level of trusting the process and going after their hopes and their dreams. Like don't just hope and dream. You know, I always say replace hope with intentions. You know, so now you have intentional dreams. You know, and that's like, to me, that's what we live with. That's kind of like the mantra we live by, is keep the main thing the main thing. That's actually the saying of my company. That's our company slogan to one another, is keep the main thing the main thing. And that's what we do. You know, that's what we do is ultimately, even though, you know, they're kids and we have our moments, but we ultimately get back to refocusing and making sure we're keeping the main things the main things.
So that's awesome.
Love the values.
So before we let you go, I have a few things for you. Thank you again for joining us. But the last few things here, tell our fans what's it like working with TJ and Plaxico on your Up on the Game podcast, and also give us game picks for this weekend.
Up on Game is pretty cool because it's like just like a real authentic approach to talking about the issues that are out here and talking about the sports topics, and just a more like, it's a more positive aspect. And I enjoy that. When I created the premise of the show, the concept was to take guys who have lived it and have experienced it, but offer information. That's information. There's a difference between offering information and offering it where the information is, whether it's good or bad, it's the information, right? So we talk sports topics, and like you take a Deshaun Watson topic, we're going to talk about the information, and that isn't always, it's not always good what it is that we're talking about, but we ultimately thrive, and we really pride ourselves on the energy of our show is a positive energy. You know, we bring positivity to our topics, and we try to find the positive and everything. You know, there's a lesson to be learned in what took place with Deshaun Watson. You know, what that lesson is, I may have a different piece of feedback than TJ and Plexico, but we all offer up our experiences. You know, Plexico went through something where he had to do time. And so the uniqueness of the perspectives, if you hear TJ Hushmanzada's story, it's crazy. Didn't even graduate high school. You know, he's one of the most intelligent dudes you'll ever be around. Well spoken. It's interesting, but didn't even graduate high school. So, you know, it's just, I felt like the blend of two receivers with the type of personality dynamics that they have, along with one linebacker that has the personality traits that I have, was going to make for a really, really cool show. And it certainly has. So I enjoy that. And you can check us out on Saturdays from 9 to 12, on 9 to 11 on the Pacific Coast time, but 12 to 2 if you're on the East Coast. So that's, you know, check us out. It's iHeart Sports. It's Fox Sports Radio. Yeah, it's been great though. I love doing Up On Game, and it's exactly what the title is. It's you listen to us, we're putting you up on game.
Yeah. So real quick, your game picks, and then we'll let you go.
All right, I got San Francisco winning.
Oh, okay.
I have Kansas City winning.
Okay.
I have Buffalo winning. And I have, that's the New York Jets in the back. That ain't Philadelphia. That's Jets.
No, it's Jets. Yeah.
Is that Philly right there? Oh, is that Reggie White right there?
Yeah.
That's Reggie White. I have Philadelphia winning.
Oh.
Winning.
Well,
come on, Jalen.
Yeah. Well, there you have it. Well, there you have
great
it.
Picks.
The one and only LeVar Harrington joining our show today. What an honor. What a story. Hey, thank you to everyone for tuning in and our fans. And LeVar, where can our fans find you on social media?
Yeah, I'm King of the Mammals on IG. And if you get me anywhere else, it's just my name, LeVar Arrington, LaVar Arrington, ARRINGTON. Super simple. Just type in my name.
All right. Thank you so much. This was awesome.
Right.
Thank you.
An honor.
Awesome. Thank you, LeVar.
All right,
Appreciate
guys.
you, man.
Be well. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate
Thank you.
All right. Take care.